Hello, Chiefs fans, and welcome to this weekend's edition of Kingdom Corner here at RGR Football. I'm your host, Thunder Dan. You can find me on social media platforms under Thunder Dan 88. This is your Super WildCard Weekend edition of the defending Super Bowl champion run-it back season, Kansas City Chiefs. It's 2020 in the rearview mirror. 2021, we're in it, and we're moving forward, and we're getting into positive vibes right now. What to talk about? Chiefs news, not a ton. They're on their bye. Their feet are up. They're resting. They're at home watching, what transpired today in the 3 games that were today. All they know so far is Dustin Colquitt's been signed to the practice roster, maybe as an emergency punter if anything happens COVID-wise. You don't want to have to go to a weird situation there on special teams. Maybe just to get him a ring. I don't care. Dustin's awesome. He's family. He deserves it. Whatever. Bring him on board. Bring Tony Gonzalez back. Bring whoever we can back. Get rings for all the guys that helped us all those years and just never quite got one. Trent Green, talking to you too, buddy. It's been an interesting weekend. The first thing I will say is I did not see any world beaters on the field today. I know it's playoff football. I know it's hard. I know everything picks up tempo. But from what I saw today, every game left me thinking, if they play like this, they will not beat a playoff Kansas City Chiefs team. They just won't. If you recall, last season, our Chiefs won in the bye week, came back a tiny bit rusty at the beginning of the game, outset, kind of hurting themselves with stupid little things. Nothing the other team did was what got us behind 24-0. It was a lot of shooting themselves in the foot. And when they righted the ship, they threw 51 points on the board. You know how many 50 burgers the Chiefs scored last season, aside from that playoff game? 0. They twice scored 40 points in a game during the regular season, but you know how Andy and Eric and the coaching staff like to take the foot off the pedal a little bit on the gas, and they don't like to embarrass people. So although they seem like the kind of team that could score 50 points 8 times a season. It's just depending on the given day and how aggressive they want to be. They just kind of don't do that. They keep for as many tricks as Andy shows, he keeps that many more in his bag. But they came into the playoffs with an announcement of, oh, we're here and we're for real. And then they proceeded to score 35 points the next week and win that game and 31 points in the Super Bowl. We all know what happened there. Super Bowl champions. Huzzah. Huzzah. Today, I thought I was going to witness the comeback, which I'd seen many times before by Phillip Rivers with the Colts. And it just seemed like at the end of the game, he just looked like he was throwing a wet Nerf football. He just kind of looked like he just didn't have it. The zip, he's always thrown a little bit of a turducken of a football, but he just did not seem to have that kind of zip that he normally has. One other thing I want to touch on, too, that's Chief pertinent before I get into other stuff, is whatever else transpires, all I know is going into next weekend, 6 team seasons will be over after tomorrow. 6 teams that thought they had a chance at going and hunting down the Chiefs are going to be out. They're going to be finished. They're going to be done. We don't have to worry about them, and that's awesome. The picture's clear as mud right now. We just know we won't be playing the Bills, which we already knew. We won't be playing the Colts, which I already figured. And we'll find out tomorrow how the rest of the things play out because the rest of it was NFC today. Tomorrow I expect to see, my take is I think the Steelers are going to lose to the Cleveland Browns, and I'll get into that in a second. And I want to talk about the Titans and the Ravens because we normally don't talk about that here. I know it's Kingdom Corner. I know it's Tailgate. I'm going to make it quick. Don't worry. This is fun. I get to talk a little playoffs with you guys. I feel like I'm taking, first of all, I was in the Wayback Machine today watching the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Washington football team because Taylor Heineke had a coming out party and it was ruined by a game that resembled the 2018 AFC Championship in as much as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line held with impunity. There was at one point a highlight. Tom made a great throw on 3rd down and long over the middle, clean pocket, and they replayed it. And Tony Dungy was even commenting, they kept the pocket nice and clean, and his voice just kind of fell off the shelf because they showed the replay from behind Tom. And you see Tom's back, and he's standing tall in the pocket. And as he throws the ball, you see the O lineman and the D lineman come across, and the D lineman is reaching out with everything he has, and the O lineman has him by the pads and by the face mask, jerking his head back. And I think it was all that Tony Dungy could do to not say, come on, man, don't give me that clip when I'm commenting on how good of a play it was. But kudos to Tom. He's undeniably great. You can't take that away from him. But if you let a team hold, you don't let the other team hold, any good quarterback in the NFL, any decent quarterback in the NFL is going to have a day. And, they played their butts off, and I don't know whether Mike Evans was playing possum or whether he was really hurt, but I do know Taylor Heineke was probably playing with a separated shoulder, it looked like. The Rams, Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp getting dinged up, that's not good for them. But they were limping through at the quarterback position, and the Seahawks look like a shell of themselves. I was going to quickly touch on each game. I'm not going to get into them very deeply because I want to get back to Chiefs stuff primarily. Yeah, it was kind of sad watching the Colts thing. Philip Rivers looked like he reminded me of Dan Marino against the Jacksonville Jaguars at the end of the game. He looked like he just kind of the arm didn't have it. He just couldn't make the passes he needed to make. That said, the pass over the middle when they stopped everything, he completed a pass. They stopped everything down to review the play. They reviewed the play inside of 2 minutes because the Bills took a timeout. I'm a Chiefs fan. You're a Chiefs fan if you're watching this, probably. I know that you know that I know that we know that there have been several occasions in the past where Andy Reid has tried to use this tactic where a play has taken place, the other team has gained an advantage, we have no timeouts left, therefore we have no challenges left, and Andy Reid just goes, I'm going to call it, or no, we have a timeout, we have no challenges, my apologies, let me correct that, or it's in the 2 minute window where we can't call a timeout, we can't challenge a play, and Andy Reid will call a timeout hoping that he will give the refs a chance to review things, and the refs just won't do it. And it's get on with the game, Andy. You don't have any challenges. It's inside 2 minutes. It's up to us, and we're not going to look. What compelled the referees to go back and look at that play? The coach talking to them and saying, "I think you need to go," should not compel the referees. That's outside of the rules of the football game. Regardless, the Bills got them to go back and look at it. They left the play alone. I kind of think Pascal's knee was coming up a little bit. That said, again, being a Chiefs fan, you easily could have called forward progress stopped because he wasn't moving forward. We all know about that happening to Alex and the boys in Alex's last year with us. Anyway, I digress. It's just interesting to see the way certain calls go. That said, there was 39 seconds before that they ran a play which apparently didn't happen because the timeout was called. But when they came back from saying yes, the play stands, yes, his knee was down, they didn't give them the playback that they just completed, and they didn't give them the time back either. I don't understand why the commentators didn't say anything about that. I don't know why they didn't press them about that. And then there was a play on the sideline that was questionable. It devolved. At the end of the day, there's nobody I think that watched that thought if that was Patrick Mahomes back there instead of Philip Rivers throwing, we would have at least tied it, if not probably won the football game. But it wasn't to be. The Bills won. The Bills were the better team on the day. Bills also lost Zach Moss. I don't know for how long. He looked. Apparently he got carted off, and it wasn't a good situation. So a lot of teams are getting dinged up today. This, again, why I'm glad we didn't play our guys last week, why I'm glad we have the bye week. The Rams-Seahawks game we already talked about. There's not much to talk about there. I just feel like we might be coming to the end of the tunnel for the Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson riding off into the sunset thing unless they really retool next season and get back at it, because they lost to a team today that, despite the Rams' defense, they should have housed them. They should have... that running back, though, Cam Akers, he was in there. He was in our talks last year about last draft season about the potential of drafting a running back. I thought we could get Cam later in the draft instead of the first round, but I did like Jonathan Taylor, who was also in that Bills game, and they didn't win today. But it is what it is. The Rams move on. The Bills move on. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers move on. And tomorrow we're gonna have the Ravens and Titans, the Bears and Saints, the Browns and Steelers. Of course, Chiefs got a week to rest. Thing I love about this situation as well is, even though it's 2 weeks, the first week they can just focus on fundamentals. Now, I don't know how much tackling is going to go on and how much things like that are going to go on, but guys drilling down and dialing down to their fundamentals of their position is really hard to squeeze into a practice when you're trying to orchestrate a game plan, a defensive game plan, an offensive playbook, first 15 plays, things like that. You're trying to get in place. It's really hard to just put the screws down on the basic fundamentals. They probably practice it every practice. They probably do a little bit here and there, but to really spend a full practice working on the fundamentals and just making sure you know your responsibilities, you know where you need to be on the field. This stuff is priceless and it's crucial, and it's why I guarantee you why the Patriots only won Super Bowls when they had the bye week, because that extra week gives you that little extra time to get an advantage on every one of your opponents. Now they're going to have all of this coming week, once tomorrow's game's finished, to find out who they're playing against and spend that whole week preparing for them, having not had to play a game the week before. Huge advantage. We all know Andy Reid's coming off of a bye week is the most successful coach in NFL history. It's going to be an amazing game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. whoever we play. I'm very excited. Can you tell I'm excited? I'm like a kid in a candy store. Trying to make this quick. We're at 10 minutes now. I'm going to try to get it done in, let's say 12 at the most. Two things I wanted to point out. I feel like I'm on taking crazy pills because everyone's talking about the Ravens-Titans game, and everyone is saying the team that's going to win it, the Baltimore Ravens. I don't understand this logic. I don't get it. I just watched the NFL highlight preview, whatever tape that they do each week, and out of 10 pundits talking about the game and who they think is going to win, the only one I agree with, Colleen Wolfe. She's picking the Titans to beat the Ravens. I don't think it's going to be 31-30. I think it's going to be close-ish, but I don't think it's going to be that close, and I don't know if it's going to be that high scoring. Everyone's talking about how the Ravens came on at the end of the season and how Lamar's rolling it. This was the talk last year, and he was more impressive last year. He was the MVP last year, and it didn't matter because they ran into the human hurricane that is Derrick Henry and had no answer for him. And if you can't stop Derrick Henry, which they couldn't do in the playoffs last year, they couldn't do in the regular season this year, you can't get the pressure on Tannehill that you need to get on Tannehill. And Tannehill had 1,100 more yards than Lamar Jackson. He had more touchdowns. He had fewer interceptions. He was sacked less. He's just a better pocket quarterback, period. Oh, and he can also run. So I really don't understand the logic behind people like, well, who would you take, Tannehill or Lamar Jackson? I'm like, what's the rest of my team? And honestly, you know what? It doesn't even matter. If I got Derrick Henry, I want Tannehill over Lamar Jackson. If I got the Baltimore Ravens, I want Tannehill over Lamar Jackson. Now, a year or two from now, if pieces are still falling into place, because Lamar's still young, but if pieces are still falling into place and it kind of clicks, because it didn't click for Ryan Tannehill early on, we all know that. He was a backup. That's why he got to Tennessee in the first place. Who knows what 2 or 3 years will change. But if he keeps being 1,000 yards rushing a season, to tell you what, it's not going to last long for Lamar Jackson. Just your body can't take the beating that he's definitely going to be taking. But right now, it's just like he's just the wiser quarterback. Tannehill's the wiser quarterback on the field, and that makes too much of a difference in the playoffs. That's why Tannehill succeeded in the playoffs last year, and that's why Lamar's one and done each year. Maybe he turns the corner this year. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe they blow the doors off of the Tennessee Titans and make it not a game early on. Trick with that is if A.J. Brown's healthy, he wasn't a factor last year because he wasn't a complete receiver. Now he is a complete receiver who, when he catches the ball, is like a running back running down the field. So it just got harder for them to win that football game. The Browns, I think, are going to beat the Steelers because I feel that, unfortunately, they're not going to have their head coach this week. That's huge. Head coaches are uber important. But I thought back to the Jets game. And when they played the Jets and their receivers were out, what did they try to do? They tried to force the pass. Why? Because Stefanski comes from the Minnesota Vikings. And if you recall, the Minnesota Vikings had a great run game, still try to get it to the receivers. Even when it wasn't the best idea in the world, they didn't want to go to the run game. They wouldn't run the football. And I think that he's kind of brought a little bit over with him because when you have Nick Chubb and you have Kareem Hunt, you can run the football. You should be able to run the football on almost anybody. And they didn't press it. And you were playing the Jets, and they didn't want to lean on the run. I think that Stefanski being out and having people like Callahan in the building, who's a big O-line guy and a big run game guy, I think that could be to their advantage, at least for this week. And I think that they're going to surprise some people. It's not going to surprise me if the Steelers win because they're savvy vets and whatever, and any vet can rise on any weekend. But I just don't think Ben has what he used to have. And the drops I've seen from the Pittsburgh receivers, I just feel like the Cleveland Browns are in a better place. And I think they're going to be coming off of that win with a lot of energy. Much like our team is going to be coming off of that loss that left a salty taste in their mouth, even though they didn't play most of our starters. And the game wasn't that. It was the biggest spread that the Chiefs have had since Patrick Mahomes became the starter. And Patrick Mahomes didn't dress. So it still counts. He hasn't lost a game by more than 8 points in his career. And he won't be losing in this playoff strike, this cycle, whatever you want to call it. The Bears and Saints, which Bears team is going to show up? Okay, if it's the Bears team that gave the Tampa Bay Buccaneers everything they can handle, the Saints could be in trouble. If it's the Bears we saw for half of the season where they were just kind of discombobulated, not really getting it together, they're going to get their doors blown off. It's in New Orleans. It's going to be a rough go. We'll see what happens, what goes on. The last thing I want to touch on, it's already 14 minutes. I'll do this in 30 seconds. I'm really annoyed that some radio host is talking trash about Eric Bieniemy. Dude, knock it off, okay? I don't think it's racist. People are calling the race card. I don't think it's that. I think he's just an idiot, and he's trying to go, look at me, look what I'm saying. It's buzzwords, it's headline fodder, talking trash about his meeting with the Falcons. And if you read the article, I'm not going to say his name because I'm not going to give the guy any publicity. But if you read the article, suffice it to say, he goes on about it as if he's in the coaching meetings in Kansas City, and he was on the Zoom calls with the owners and Eric Bieniemy in the room. He talks about it like he's got that much of an inside ear to all these people in the NFL. I don't know the man from Adam. I don't know these GMs and head coaches and NFL owners. I only know what I know from gleaning information from watching what you guys watch but digging into it a lot more because I'm crazy like that. But I guarantee you he does not have that connection with those people. And he's talking out of his butt, and it's a bunch of negative hearsay. And, I mean, my prediction, Eric Bieniemy ends up on the team as a head coach before this is all said and done. It might be the Falcons. If it is, and they say he's a bona fide candidate according to Steve Weish, if it is, and they're furious. Apparently the Falcons are furious. Steve Weish, I believe, because I think Steve Weish definitely has their ear over at NFL Network. He's calling over there. Yeah, we'll talk to Steve. If the Falcons do hire him, I hope it's because he's the guy they really want. I don't want them to cave to pressures and hire him because people think they should. I want Eric Bieniemy to become the head coach of the team he really wants to coach. If that's the Chargers, because that's probably the best deal out there, then so be it. If he gets Deshaun Watson somewhere else other than the Texans, which I don't think, that would be the most ridiculous move if they let Deshaun Watson out of that building, but it could happen, who knows. Anyway, that's your Kingdom Corner. That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of non-Chief stuff. But hey, they're relaxing this week. They're having snacks. They're having an extended holiday. They're working out. They're looking at film. Trust me, they're doing their work. But they're tweeting. Patrick's tweeted a lot this weekend. It's just awesome. Travis Kelce, All-Pro unanimous. Tyreek Hill, All-Pro. Tyrann Mathieu, All-Pro. We got a really good football team, folks. We have a very good football team, an excellent football team. They're going to come out hard next week. They're going to come out strong. And whoever they play, if you're not ready, so help you, we could see the first 60 burger in playoff history in a long time. That's it for me. Happy Football Sunday. Enjoy your games today. We'll catch you next week. Go Chiefs.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.